Now, this is a cool little trick here. I must say, I love stuff like this. As somebody who came from the progenitor of Mythic Plus challenge modes, stuff like this was done all the time. Small little optimizations of just tanking or standing in specific spots that made mechanics kind of just work the wrong way, work a way that they probably aren't intended. But I gotta believe that Blizzard does put stuff like this in the game on purpose. So let's take a look at what it does, and I'll explain to you why this is such a cool little trick.
I will unmake you. Guards, remove these pests.
Beware.
Guards, remove these pests.
Beware.
So let's break it down, because maybe it's not entirely obvious what's happening here, but this is the final boss of the dungeon, one of 3. Soleah, it's her Gambit after all. And it looks like she's going to lose this bet, because we're going to drag her all the way from where she starts all the way to the other side of this cart. Now, this is the important part here. All of this debris here is like non-playable area. Like if you try to like jump up on it and stuff, you're going to get stuck. So over in this corner here, there's this little gap here where there's just enough playable space for the boss and a few mechanics to rest. Once we drag her over here, you'll see that, there's basically only like a sliver of land here. Obviously right here is a little tight. So when she does this summon assassin ability, usually what happens is they summon on 2 sides of her. Sometimes they're in like really weird spots. It might have something to do with how you're facing the boss. I don't exactly know how it works, how they spawn, but it doesn't matter now, because this is the only way I'll ever do it ever again, because that is actually a kind of a big problem, especially for me as Blood DK, because they spawn on 2 different sides. It's very similar to what happens with the ads on the first boss. And then a lot of times they just go running for like either a healer or a ranged DPS. So I have to oftentimes use Death Grip on them to get them over to me, which is a problem, because they're occasionally going to jump away and try to cast a spell. And if they get that spell casted, we pretty much die. So let's see how they actually spawn. You'll see them spawn directly on top of her. And that's just because there's nowhere else they could spawn. Like they probably want to spawn like over here or, to the right here, but this is all basically like line of sight. So what I could imagine is happening here is the mobs have to be within a certain distance of the boss, and because the boss has 2 obstructive line of sights on either side, then they can't form where they want to form, and they just spawn directly on the boss. And that alone is a big DPS increase, make no doubt about this. Even for the 2 or 3 seconds those ads aren't next to the boss, that's a DPS loss, because it's potentially drawing people's attention to the ads, making them switch from the boss to the ads, but more so it's just making them not stand in all the AoEs you have, right? Like there's a lot of stuff happening on top of the boss, especially if you're fighting the at this time. It's just way more efficient to just be kind of 4 target cleaving everything down right now. And if you do this right and have really high damage here, you can not see these ads jump at all. And then when that happens, that's like a triumph of damage. Like you've done a great job. You could also just stun them when they're at like 10% health, because you're assuming they're going to jump there, and then they just won't as well. But I want to show you what happens when they actually jump as well, because that's also a nice little part of this trick here. So you see they go directly back here. Okay, and let me show you that from another perspective as well, just to be sure of it. Here we go again. You see it's going to jump all the way back there, and that's really important as well, because what that means is they're always going to jump to the same spot too. For me, especially as the Blood DK tank, I oftentimes find myself having trouble getting them back to the boss after they start doing this cast here. Typically you would hope that some range would help with this, or some DPS would help with this, but it's really uncommon. So now if I'm literally always facing the exact direction they're going to jump, especially on DK, I can quickly just grip them, and then they'll be back there no problem. So this really streamlines a mechanic that is absolutely dangerous. I mean, we let it go off here and it does wipe us. So keeping them in the exact same spot the entire phase is going to dramatically improve not only your DPS on them, but also your ability to do mechanics. And these are the kind of tricks that people find out and then learn and improve on over a long period of time. So of course, this is Soleah's Gambit. We still have the ability to do this in season 4 as well. This is the kind of stuff that I worry about not being found when you only do a dungeon for maybe 6 months and then it's gone. But anyway, I hope this helps. I think this is definitely going to be a really good idea. If anybody else has tried this in another spot in this room and you've seen it work, please let me know about that too. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Otherwise, we're going to see you guys in the next video.